Hello everyone and welcome back to Rama episode 3. Today we're going to continue with the tales of the 12 labors of Hercules. Make sure to watch the previous episode to catch up. Heracles' sixth labor was to kill the symphalian birds, large flying monsters who ate humans with their bronze beaks and their wings made from metallic feathers. They belonged to the god of war, Ares, and lived in the area of the lake Stymphalia. Heracles was unable to go too deep in the swamp because he would drown, and so the goddess of wisdom, Athena, provided him with a rattle which would scare the birds into the air, after which they were easy targets for the hero's poison arrows. The seventh labor was to capture the Cretan bull, which was the father of the Minotaur. The Minotaur is another extremely famous Greek monster, which we'll get into soon after. After taking permission from King Minos, Heracles managed to catch the bull with his bare hands and presented it to Eurystheus, who wanted to sacrifice it to the gods. However, the gods did not agree, and hence the bull was released back into the wild. Heracles' eighth, ninth, and tenth labors were not too difficult, where he had to capture the mares of Diomedes, which were man eating horses, steal the girdle of Hippolyta, who was the queen of the Amazons, and steal the cattle of Geryon. His 11th labor, because two of his other labors were not counted by Eurystheus, was to steal the apples from the Garden of Hesperides. The Hesperides were nymphs of the sunset that tended to a garden somewhere in the far western corner of the world. Now, there are two versions on how Heracles managed to acquire these apples. One version has it that he reached the Hesperidian garden, where he killed Ladon, the dragon guardian of the apples, and took the apples. According to another version, he came across Atlas, the Titan god, who was condemned to hold the earth on his shoulders. Atlas was also the father of the Hesperides, and thus had access to the garden at any time. Heracles persuaded Atlas to change places for a while, so that Atlas would fetch some of the apples. Atlas agreed and indeed brought some of the apples. However, on his return, he decided he did not want to take the earth back on his shoulders. Heracles tricked him and said he would be keeping the heavens but wanted to adjust his cloak first. Atlas agreed to take the heavens back momentarily, but Heracles walked away, taking the apples with him. The final labor that Heracles had to complete was to capture Cerberus, the three headed dog and guardian of the underworld. After a long journey filled with many adventures and help from various gods, Heracles found Hades, the ruler of the underworld, also the brother of Zeus, and asked him to take Cerberus to the surface. The god was hesitant at first, but agreed on the condition that no weapon should be used to achieve it. Heracles eventually managed to subdue the dog with his hands and brought it on his back to Thames. Eurystheus was horrified at the sight of the giant dog and asked Heracles to take it back to the underworld, and thus effectively released him from any other labels. So this finishes our two-parter episode of the 12 Labors of Hercules, and I hope you enjoyed these episodes. I'm going to be coming out with much more from various mythologies around the world, and make sure to check out part 1 if you haven't already, and make sure to subscribe. Thank you everyone. See you later.